It's the end of 2021 and a time where players of all strategy games start to look into the future. The strategy renaissance starting to occur is giving us loads of fantastic new games coming in 2022. And today, I want to focus on a specific genre, space. Hello everybody, this is Havoc, and in this video, we'll take a look at games encompassing all strategy genres from RTS and simulation to turn-based and city building, in an effort to keep you informed of just what is around the corner. Before we do, as always, if you enjoy any part of this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, sub to the channel, and turn on bell notifications. With that out of the way, let's dive into some upcoming space strategy games in 2022, starting with Falling Frontier. This space RTS management game is developed by a single person, Todd Darcy of Stutterfox Studios, and published by Hooded Horse. Putting you at the head of a spacefaring faction in Falling Frontier, you'll need to employ several strategies at once in order to come out on top. Intel is crucial to know where things are, be it precious minerals to mine or enemy ships to be aware of. Probes, scout ships, and recon stations will be your eyes and ears in the vast, massive, procedurally generated solar system. You'll need to gather resources to build up your empire, not just for the construction of ships, but the development of a logistical system consisting of refueling stations to transport goods and people to the outer reaches of your system. Ship designs and combat are very much intertwined. Do you sport smaller, faster frigate ships to overwhelm and outmaneuver the enemy, or will your custom, upgraded, thick-skinned but lumbering capital ships be able to tank some hits and mess up another fleet? Your tactics will be the deciding factor in the outcome of your battles, so some forward-thinking movements and utilization of asteroid or planetary cover could mean the difference between life or death. Falling Frontier was just delayed into Q2 of 2022 and will feature its recently announced Titan Rising campaign, bringing us back to our own solar system between the war in Mars and Titan to give the player a great historical perspective on the current game as a whole. Next up is a space grand strategy closer to home, TERRA INVICTA. Developed by Pavonis Interactive, the team behind XCOM's Long War mod, and another title published by Hooded Horse, TERRA INVICTA keeps the space theme within our own system in what could easily be our near future. When an alien probe is detected near Earth, several factions emerge in response to how humanity will react to this new revelation. Your actions during the campaign will either unite or divide the planet, while pushing the boundaries of intersystem space travel in search of resources and strategies to combat the unknown threat. TERRA INVICTA focuses on a few core ideas within its grand strategy game. First and foremost is geopolitics. Each faction has their own agenda, from wanting to kill every single alien to cooperating with them, even full servitude. You'll have to contend with these factions as you try to gain as much control over the world as possible, breaking nations if necessary, through politicians, scientists, agents, espionage, even proxy wars to reach your goals. It extends beyond Earth though. If you hope to fight this threat with any force at all, you'll need to pioneer space travel within our system, competing with these same factions to construct bases on planets and moons, or mine asteroids to get the required materials to design your own fleet. You can build refueling stations deep in space for long-term space missions, or develop research facilities closer to home. There are over 300 asteroids, moons, and planets in actual constant motion, creating an ever-changing strategic map to play in. We can't forget the last piece, spaceships. Spaceship design in TERRA INVICTA draws on hard science fiction and current speculative scientific research. Your ships are compact and as efficient as possible, customizable with an array of weapons, engine drives, and hull types for every type of mission. Combat is steeped in the same realism where Newtonian physics means momentum and maneuvering on the X, Y, and Z axis makes space battles on a 3D plane incredibly more strategic and important to think ahead. TERRA INVICTA was also just pushed back to Q2 of 2022, so keep an eye out for further updates regarding an actual set release date. We've got one more space strategy game published by Hooded Horse, and it's Alliance of the Sacred Sons. Developed by Cathawk Studios, Alliance of the Sacred Sons takes an entirely different approach than the two previous games. This 4X RPG turn-based strategy game sees you as the newly crowned heir of an interstellar empire that's on the brink of collapse. While it may appear to be Crusader Kings-esque in direction, Alliance has a much harsher approach. Should you die as the new ruler, the empire descends into pure chaos and it's game over. As the ruler of a declining empire, you start the game as such in name only, the great houses around you having swelled with power in your absence. You'll be spending a good portion of the game figuring out how to regain actual control, hoping to finally hold sway against these houses and their powers. In order to prevent the collapse of your empire, you'll need to be quick on your feet, engaging in meaningful conversations to develop true relationships, and confiding in those who you bring close so that they can help you run an empire. You'll have to entrust these characters for two reasons. There's a limited number of actions you can take per turn, and you cannot micromanage every aspect of your empire. Limited actions means every conversation you choose to have has to bring results. Every large planet construction project has to stimulate your economy. Every battle you wage has to result in victory. Anything can bring you down and crush you under the weight of the empire. And sometimes that thought process means bringing in someone you don't entirely trust, but has the qualifications to get the job done right, or maybe needed for a certain project to appease a certain great house that can give you legitimacy to the throne. Overall, I like to think of Alliance of the Sacred Sons as a 4X RPG strategy game that combines Crusader Kings level decisions and the landscape of Dune's political and imperial system, and while the game is a bit all over the place with its user interface, we've got until Q2 of 2022 to really see how the game progresses before release. Speaking of Dune though, I am incredibly excited for Dune Spice Wars, developed by HForHavoc Games and published by Funcom. Announced just recently at the Game Awards show, Dune Spice Wars is a real-time strategy game with a 4X style elements. Set in Frank Herbert's amazing Dune universe, it's up to you, the player, to lead your faction and battle for control and dominance over the harsh desert planet of Arrakis. In Dune Spice Wars, you'll have quite a few elements to juggle all at once to expand your empire. First, you'll need to utilize your troops and omnithopters to explore territories, discovering resources, villagers, and points of interest that you might want to expand to. Exploiting these resources using special buildings and even your own spice harvesters will boost your economy, although you will have to be aware of sandworms that can eat said troops and harvesters, so being aware of worm sign is crucial to keeping the economy stable. It goes much deeper than that though. As one of the several houses vying for control, you'll have to balance subterfuge, political influence, economic supremacy, and even open warfare to get what you want. So far even to use secretive agents to sabotage your opponents and keep them in check, or voting on political resolutions and the Land's Rod to further your own gains. There's not much else known about the game itself, but having HForHavoc Games as the developer gives me a great deal of hope that it will be a great one, as Northgard is a fantastic game, and I can already see the correlations to it from the screenshots on Steam. Dune Spice Wars is set for a 2022 release. Moving along to another game just recently announced at the Game Awards, let's take a look at HOMEWORLD 3. Developed by Blackbird Interactive and published by Gearbox Publishing, HOMEWORLD 3 is a continuation of the HOMEWORLD franchise, and it's been around 18 years since it's last been in space. The premise of HOMEWORLD 3 centers around the hyperspace gate network, a key part of HOMEWORLD 2's story plot. While these gates have brought cycles of peace and war across the galaxy since HOMEWORLD 2, they are now catastrophically failing for unknown reasons, and TERRAN, who has now faded into myth and turned into religious idolatry, will be the key to unraveling the mystery threatening the galaxy future. If the story doesn't grab you, the scale and visuals from the trailer just might, as HOMEWORLD 3 has definitely stepped up and embraced the graphics potential in that 18-year gap, with hulking space derelicts called megaliths and asteroid fields being a primary feature in new tactics in space combat. The ability to use these massive structures and asteroids to set ambushes, provide flanking maneuvers, or even a means of cover and escape will change how battles are fought, without a doubt. Outside of that though, there's not much known about the other strategic elements of the game, how you'll manage your fleet, find resources to repair, other mechanics of the like. So I hope Gearbox plans on releasing more information soon now that it's officially announced and up on Steam. They've got plenty of time though, as HOMEWORLD 3 is looking at a Q4 2022 release date. Fingers crossed it doesn't get pushed to 2023. Speaking of franchise continuations, Distant Worlds 2, developed by Codeforce and published by Slitherine. There seems to be a nice trend of reviving long-time games like this, and Distant Worlds 2 is no different, with the first game releasing initially in 2010, then on Steam in 2014. In this vast, real-time 4X strategy game, you will lead your species into an interstellar empire, beginning with a single planet and a single system, amidst a galaxy that can hold up to 2,000 stars and tens of thousands of planets. of which you can fully explore and exploit. Your campaigns will not just see you interact with new species or discover new technologies. You'll have a form of storyline to follow as you expand, with certain in-game conditions or in an open-ended sandbox mode. Along the way, you might find ruins of ancient civilizations, uncovering secrets of the galaxy's troubled past. Distant Worlds 2 is looking like a pretty huge upgrade from the first game, with full 3D graphics and much more customization for the modern space strategy genre, and has piqued my interest since it was first announced. It looks like we won't have to wait too much longer to get our hands on it, as Distant Worlds 2 will release on March 10th, 2022. Moving right along into some originals, beginning with Dust Fleet, developed by Orbiting Disco. Not much is known about this one, but from the trailer and Steam page, you're in charge of a fleet assigned to liberate a sector of space from an unknown enemy. This will require you to choose your battles as resources are finite, upgrade your various ships as the campaign progresses, with new pieces of armor, weapons, and full loadouts, then command them in full 3D space. This one's reminiscent of HOMEWORLD, with your singular fleet bouncing around space to pure space tactics instead of a home base where development can continue unharmed. And it's good to see some competition peacefully brewing in this part of the gaming industry. We'll have to wait and see what else Dust Fleet can show off before deciding on pulling the trigger and supporting it, but the latest trailer does look rather stunning, and I see a lot of potential should some real gameplay arrive. Dust Fleet is slated for a 2022 release. Next up is one that really grabbed me when my community showed it off to me, and that's Fragile Existence. Developed by Fragile Continuum, this game presents a rather unique perspective on the usual doom and gloom of apocalyptic space builders. You are the last fleet of humankind, and you're running from an enemy hell-bent on destroying you. As you jump from system to system, staying ahead of the enemy fleet, you'll need to explore and exploit resources from the planets you discover, building up the necessary buildings, units, technology, and infrastructure needed to survive until your enemy shows up. Then, it's evacuation to the ships and back out into space to find the next planet for resource extraction and expansion until you can eventually fight against them. Fragile Existence looks to combine planetary annihilation with a form of Battlestar Galactica, and while it indeed looks fantastic, I hope that the blend of logistics and moving to entire new planets and the systems works out as intended, rather than confuse the player between its vastly different main mechanics. Fragile Existence has a 2022 release date. While the enemy is unknown in Fragile Existence, we certainly know who the enemy is in Starship Troopers Terran Command, developed by the Aristocrats and published by Slytherin. In Terran Command, the bugs have invaded the mining planet of Koalasha, and it's up to you and your command of the mobile infantry to take on the arachnid threat and wrestle the planet back into the hands of the Federation. While the bugs have overwhelmingly superior numbers, your mobile infantry will consist of several different unit types, allowing you to customize your tactics to the landscape of your mission and find ways to make their numbers turn against them, with units like the flamethrower engineers or snipers for long-range one-shot kills. Terran Command goes beyond just unit variety. You'll need true line of sight in order to fire on the enemy, and your units will take line of fire into consideration as well, meaning they won't shoot through their friends just to get to the bugs. Flanking, terrain height, technological advances, all of these will need to be considered to maximize your potential in destroying the bug threat as you progress through your campaign to liberate Koalasha. Would you like to know more? Terran Command will release on March 31st, 2022. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's soon time to squash some bugs. And that will be all for this video on some upcoming space strategy games in 2022. If you enjoyed any part of this video showcase, be sure to give the video a like, sub to the channel, and turn on bell notifications. Let me know what your favorite game is on this list by leaving a comment down below. This is Havoc, and I'll see you all in the next one.